This is the Horse Radio Network.
Don't we all envy those riders who rock the perfect #rude every day? Well, we're talking to one dressage fashionista on how she pulls it off. Braiding is the worst, but we're talking to the ultimate pro this week on how to make it better. Thanks for tuning in. From Heels Down Mag, a podcast where horse pros chat about what's happening in the horse world over drinks. Welcome to Happy Hour. I'm Justine Griffin.
I'm Jessica Payne.
And I'm Ellie Woznicka. Welcome to episode 85 of Heels Down Happy Hour.
Hey, guys.
Hey. So I have a question for both of you. How do you say #riding outfit of the day? Did I say it right? Root?
I don't know. I always just say #ROOTD.
That sounded like a lot of letters to say.
I just usually say riding outfit of the day, but
well, I went for it. I went for it and I committed to the root.
I appreciated the commitment.
Yeah.
I commend you for your commitment.
This episode is brought to you by EcoGold. And this week, we're really excited to talk about EcoGold's line of secure pads. If you're looking for a pad that doesn't slip, doesn't slide, this is the one for you. EcoGold's secure pad are engineered to keep the horse's back comfortable while keeping the saddle in place for a safe, competitive ride. They're known for the impact protection through the seat and the ultra-thin flaps that provide the rider with better communication and a more stable riding position. If you want to check out the secure line of pads, which come in both English and Western styles, you should go to ecogold.ca.
So, guys, I have a drink that I'm going to hopefully not butcher the name of today. It's Boulevardier. It's a cocktail. So it's basically 1.5 ounces of bourbon whiskey, some sweet or semi-sweet red vermouth, and then 1 ounce of Campari and ice. And for garnish, an orange peel. So you combine the bourbon, your sweet vermouth, and the Campari in a glass, fill it with ice, and then stir it like continuously for 30 seconds. And then you add more ice to the glass and then strain the drink into a different glass. Use a knife to remove a 1-inch wide strip of the orange peel and squeeze the orange peel into the drink to release the oils. And then gently peel the glass around the edge and then place it on your glass to serve. So don't cut yourself because then you're going to really have some red vermouth.
Oh my gosh.
This actually sounds excellent, though. This is like right up my alley kind of drink.
Have you guys had this
it's
Campari before?
It's like an old-fashioned drink, though, basically.
Ooh,
okay. It is, yeah.
I want to try it. It sounds really good.
You've never had Campari? Is that what you're saying, Ellie?
No.
I mean, it's good in like a mixed drink like this. This is, This would be a good one for you to try.
I'm doing it. I'll do it. Probably not the orange peel. It's too much commitment for me.
All right. What do you got for news, Jess?
So, I don't know. I just had to talk to you guys about this because I've seen this kind of a little bit everywhere. And the Irish Eventing Times had posted a bit ago and just talking about kind of the craziness that, we were entering Kentucky and everything else. And I understand everybody's doing a great job, like with COVID and everything, but it's been really interesting because in the show jump world for the 3, 4, and 5 star, they have actual like a minimum prize money you have to run the event, like to run that class. And it really shocked a lot of us this year is that Kentucky is actually doing it and I understand like Kentucky's running and we're all very thankful that they've put it together and we're doing it. But this year, Kentucky's like over less than half of what they usually are prize money. And they up the entry fees. And I think that, during this hard times, it's just really hard to kind of everybody plan the schedule. And we've got a great number of riders because we are all thankful that Kentucky is one of the only 5 stars running this, this whole year, maybe. We don't know, but definitely this spring. So it's like one of those things. Pretty interesting that like for show jumping, you have minimum prize money and in eventing, it's kind of all over the map. And I understand COVID's a different year and we're hoping to get back to normal, but I don't know. It's pretty interesting that, it kind of got swept under the rug that the entry fee is almost 2 to 3 times the price that it was 2 years ago.
So this is interesting to me with their whole fundraising campaign. What did the fundraising actually accomplish? Did they not get enough money from the fundraising?
I don't know. I mean, and I think it's a very interesting point that I do think that event takes a lot of money. Obviously, they're saying that it takes a ton of money to run and everything. And I'm not trying to sound like ungrateful because I'm very glad that Kentucky is running, but it is just very something that we didn't all know about, that it was going to go up in entry fees and down in prize money. And then we saw this post that now they can't have spectators. And I get they 100% make money off spectators, but they're doing these new paper, waterproof cutouts. Have you seen this?
Oh,
yeah. This year?
Yeah, we had it at Spark. Yeah.
And I just think it's very interesting that I think it's great. And they did it. And I think they did a virtual thing at a lot of the, I think one of the stadium, not Show Jump Stadium, one of the stadiums for basketball or something, did that sort of thing. But it wasn't, I feel like this is a lot of waste of paper and waterproof material. And so it's, once again, it's costing them a lot of money to do things like this. Is it really the best spent way? I don't really know.
It wasn't cheap because I thought it was cute. The baseball, the MLB team here.
That's right. Baseball did it. Yeah.
Yeah, did it. And and you could submit your own and they print it and they put it in the stands. It's $75 to do it for Kentucky.
For Kentucky.
I was like, that's a lot of money on top of them already asking spectators for money and then they can't be there. And I understand. Yeah, I mean, the whole experience is going to be very different. There's no vendor village. I'm sure they make a lot of money on the vendors that set up there too. But yeah, it's interesting that you guys, even as competitors, are seeing this too on your level too. Of just
and it's just not the only time this year that it's been put on. Oh, well, we're just going to make it more the owner's responsibility to pay. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, a lot of people own their horses. So you're asking, you think you're going to Kentucky and it's going to be a couple $100 and it's not. It turns out to be a couple thousand, it's more than $1,000. And you're like, that's not what it was 2 years ago. So it's, I don't really want to sound like the person that's it's all about money, because I'm really not trying to sound like that. I'm very, very grateful that Kentucky is running. It's just when it becomes a surprise, it wasn't in when we were talking about Kentucky and all of that. It was just not something that anybody knew they were cutting the prize money and they're doing it. So it's interesting. I'm hoping it goes back to the way it was and that they don't keep it. I think that's their plan, that after COVID and they can have spectators, that they can decrease the entries and increase the prize money again. But it feels like it's punishing a lot of the owners that I think we already have a hard enough time keeping the owners, so it's one more challenge type thing.
Sure. I mean,
and a lot of people own their horses, so I find that to be very difficult for the people that have strived. I'm not talking about us in particular, the people, I mean, they work very hard to get to Kentucky, they own their horse, they do all that it's okay, you've done it, you've planned for all this money, and then you're oh, it's actually going to cost me a whole lot more to go this year. I mean, sure. I think that that's very difficult. I mean, we all know it's expensive to show and everything else, but it's just interesting.
What's your read on how many entries do you think there'll be? Do you think it'll be as full as
there's a ton? There's a ton. Because I mean, this year you've got the 4-star short, which I think does help. And there's no prize money in that. That's all just the 4-star short, which is great. I mean, we're taking a horse there because she's on her way to Jersey and it's part of the plan and everything. And then the 5-star has a number of, I don't know how this is going to work, but a lot of Europeans are coming. There's a number of overseas competitors.
I wonder how that's going to work, especially with the EHV stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but so Kentucky, you have to remember there's so many different barns, and
you can space them out. Yeah,
they do space them out. And I think with the overseas competitors, they've always been in a different barn. They've always been kind of quarantined if you're going down the main path, like everybody's over by the office, the US riders
see,
and Canadian, or I should say US based, Canadian based riders, because obviously there's like Australians and other nationalities here in the States. But if you're actually shipping over, they put you across the road in a section off barn by yourself.
Wow. Okay.
So if you come from England, like, and they are very good. They've always been this way, that you jog up the horses first. So like you're not walking around the jog, like waiting at the same time.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think all that will kind of be the same, and it will be interesting. But yeah, it's just, I'm very thankful that they are being able to pull off a 5-star, because I think that at the same time, all these other venues are having the same problems, and they did just cancel it, so I'm glad they didn't do that for us. So I'm very thankful. But it's very interesting that in FEI, you have to have a minimum prize requirement, money to have the event for show jumping, but not for eventing.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, we'll keep you posted. But Ellie, what do you have?
So I feel like Justine today, because I have a science story. So I don't know if you guys have heard about, I'm sure you guys have seen them, the headbands and stuff that like doctors will have people wear if they have like sleep apnea and stuff like that. So it's kind of similar to that. And then, there have been different ways that researchers have been trying to kind of track the emotions of animals. And usually it's by measuring brainwaves, but then they, are connected to a really big machine. So it's hard to get an accurate, like what they're like, kind of at rest, where they're comfortable, kind of to measure that. So these researchers from the University of Rennes, I hope I'm saying that right. It's in France, created this like headset / headband that you attach to the horse's halter that supposedly is able to measure happiness. So it's 4 sensors that measure different brain waves. And I'm not going to try to say it. It's an EEG program that measures the brain waves. It took them like 6 years to develop it. And then they tested it on 18 horses. And they put half out in a pasture with a group, and then they stabled the other half. And what I thought was really interesting is that they said that the horses that were stabled were 2.5 times more likely to have gamma waves, which in people are linked with anxiety, distraction, and depression, versus the horses that were out in the field had more theta waves, which is usually associated with calm and attentive emotions. So I thought that was really cool, and I'd be interested to see, what the technology kind of shows in the future.
Interesting.
What about you, Justine?
So I'm always like super fascinated when more mainstream news outlets write about horse-related things. So I don't know if you saw this week, but the New York Times had a story with the headline, "Can we learn anything from horses?" So naturally, that headline is meant for me. Like that just sucks me in right away. So, and basically they had one of their style riders go and participate in one of these kind of new age equestrian therapy programs that like the ultra rich go to, like Jeff Bezos or Bette Midler, like go and have this like therapeutic experience with horses. And it's really interesting. So it's written through the lens of this reporter who clearly is not someone who's ever had real experience with horses, but has just sort of like dropped into this like Zen experiment out in the desert in Santa Fe. And she's supposed to like have this connection with this, with this horse and kind of like find some soul searching, I don't know, all the whole energy kind of like experience that people pay money for. It's called the Equus Experience. And I don't know, it's a really interesting story. Like you just want to read it from start to finish and kind of experience what she experienced. And the New York Times actually did a Q&A with her too after the story published to kind of be like, so what was your experience with horses before this, like going into this? And she's very honest in that, you know, she hadn't ridden a horse since she was 11, that kind of thing. But I've always been interested in those, you know, horse, quote unquote, horse experiences that they cater to. I don't want to say celebrity types, but more like corporate retreat types. You know what I'm talking about? You know, just like rich people throwing money at this, like it'll help with your business or something. And that's kind of what this whole piece captures. So it's really interesting to read. And it gets, you know, it goes into detail about the people who started this program and why they see value in it and what horses bring to people who might not be comfortable around them right away. And just what that connection with the animal can do for your mindset generally about how you look at your life. So if you're like down to spend some time reading about it, it'll make you think. It's an interesting story. And we shared it in the Spark this week, but we will also share it in our show notes.
Just a shout out to everybody who's donated to us on Patreon. We really appreciate everybody who contributes every month. You know, you help make this podcast a thing, and we really appreciate you. If you're interested in donating, go to Patreon. That's patreon.com/heelsdown.
So this week we decided to review one of Courtney's favorite products. So we thought, why not just bring Courtney on and she can talk about it, because she has found this braiding wax that she's been raving about and everything else. So before I even start, welcome, Courtney.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me back.
So you've been raving about this spot on braiding wax and thread and everything else. Just tell everybody, why do you prefer these over everything else that we've used in the past?
Oh my gosh. I mean, where do I even start? So I really like it because it's not messy. Like, there's nothing worse than you open up your braiding kit and your bottle of Quick Braid has leaked all over the place and everything's wet and sticky and gross. And the last thing you want to do is even touch it, let alone actually braid a horse with it. And so the wax comes in a really cool tube that actually has a screw on top. And so it's kind of like a giant tube of chapstick, and you can just twist it up and twist it down. And then I just shove it in the pocket of my jeans or my shorts or coat, whatever I'm wearing. And it's great. Like, it's no leak, no mess. And I've had it in the big truck or like at a horse trailer, in the Aiken summer heat. So you're talking, 100 degrees with like 110-degree index, and it does not melt. So I've never even had that problem of like opening it up and it's been melted and distorted.
I didn't even think about that. It's never had that, because I love the wax and everything. And I've used it when I braid. Occasionally Courtney lets me braid, or makes me braid, I guess you'd say. But she's like, use it, because I like wax thread as well. And so she's like, try it and everything else. And I actually used both. And normally I have to like get Quick Braid or water or whatever else. This was so much easier. And I never thought, oh, that little tube in the cold, I did it. But I never thought in the heat, oh, it might melt. But that's true. It's never melted.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then too, in the cold, you're not spraying water or wet something onto your hands. Like, there's nothing worse than like Tryon or Fair Hill morning in the freezing cold at 5 a.m. and you're trying to braid forelocks. And this is so great because you can just, like push it, like scrub it into their mane, basically. I don't even really know what the good word is for that. But then you're not spraying a water-based substance onto your hands. So then your fingers aren't freezing to death. And it's also really good for like the first few braids or the forelock. You're not spraying anything anywhere up and around the horse's eyes and ears. So they all just stand quietly. They don't immediately go on edge and be like, oh my God, you're spraying stuff at my face for the next 45 minutes. Like, it's just completely changed my entire braiding game, honestly.
Wow. That's awesome. So Ellie, you got to try this too recently, right?
I did. Yeah. And I don't know why this, so I don't braid often because it takes me like 7 years to do one mane. Because I'm a perfectionist, right? So it really bothers me. I'm like, that one's crooked. Like, so, and
only put 8 in. Oh, that's the key. Only put 8 in.
This is why I very rarely let Jessica braid.
I'm really good with putting 8 in the braid.
So I actually really liked it. And I used the actual like waxed thread on Berkeley, and I was like just trying it out, and I felt like I had such a better grip, and it was like I felt like I was faster and cleaner about my braids. And
well, you can like hide your mistakes with it.
exactly.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And then so it's been warm here, so I wanted to test it too, because one of my biggest pet peeves is if it rains at a horse show and then, the horse will go in its stall and like, rub against something maybe for like half a second and the yarn will just pop, and then you have to redo it. So my poor horse, I dumped a bucket of water over his like 8 or 10 braids that I did, and he was like, what the heck? But they actually stayed, and like I was like pulling on them again, my poor horse. And I was really surprised. I was like, this must be great for like, if it rains at a horse show, you don't have to worry about things falling apart and getting loose and like messy looking. So I liked it a lot. And it was I used the wax when doing like, just training bands for the Western horses, and it made that so much easier too.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh man, it's been so long since I've braided my own horse. I'm not gonna lie. Like in college, that I used to do it to make money. Now I'm like, oh, if I can pay somebody, I'm gonna pay somebody. But so I played around with it too, and for me, like my thoroughbred has the most coarse mane ever. Like it's awful. I feel bad when the girl, like I hire somebody to come like braid his mane. His mane is terrible. Like it doesn't lay on one side. It sticks straight out. I have to pull it for the hunters, and then I try to let it grow a little bit when we do dressage and eventing, but it's not an easy mane to braid. So what I liked about the wax is when we were at Rocking Horse, I'm like, please use this. It'll, hopefully this will help you. At least helped her like tame it all on one side. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it cut down on the time for someone who's really good at braiding, because it was easier for her to kind of, segment it out down his neck, right? And kind of keep it all together that way. And I've used it since then to just try to tame his mane, to try to keep it all on one side. And the wax is great. I love the scent. So do you have a scent that you like, Courtney?
I mean, I'm pretty like traditional. I just, I like the unscented. I do like the peppermint. It is kind of fun. And she did actually send me some lip balm as well that was in the peppermint like scent flavor. And that was really fun, especially around Christmas time. I actually like called her and got extras and gave them as stocking stuffers to a bunch of my girlfriends. So that was like a fun little thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I haven't tried the lavender yet. She did send me some of that. I just haven't gotten around to opening it. But yeah, I mean, the unscented, it doesn't like, it's not like beeswaxy smelling, it doesn't have like a wax type of scent to it, which I really like. It is like very much unscented. And then it's not like lingering on my hands the rest of the day either.
Gotcha. I got the lavender. It smells great. I like it.
That's good. Then it's like a lotion too.
Yeah, definitely.
Added bonus.
All right, everybody. I'm really excited to introduce our next guest. Sarah Hepler is a lifelong equestrian who started in hunt seat, but now focuses on dressage and eventing. You might recognize her name because she's written for us on Heels Down. Off-track thoroughbreds are her passion, and she loves retraining them and also volunteering in their rehoming efforts. And Sarah subscribes to a movement called Lift Your Sister, because when women support women, there is no limit to what we can achieve. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So you are one of my favorite people to follow on the internet, because you have just a collection of very, very handsome thoroughbreds, and and you're one of the most passionate off-track people that I've ever met. You're just such a wonderful advocate for the breed, and I know you've competed at the RRP makeover before. Someone who's been there. Can you tell us more about it? What the atmosphere is like. What's your favorite part about it?
Yes. So this will be my 4th year going, 3rd year actually competing. Unfortunately, in 2019, my horse didn't quite make it in. It is the most amazing experience that you will ever have. So many times when I've been there, I've completely forgotten that it was an actual competition, because everybody there is so supportive. They just really want to see you and your horse succeed. Everybody helps everybody. It's so easy to meet new people and learn new disciplines. And it's just something I would recommend to anyone and everyone who loves the thoroughbred horse, who loves horse showing, and who wants to be reminded what horse showing really should be all about.
So what advice do you have to people who, they've heard about it, they know what what the competition is, but just any advice you have for someone who has dreams of attending one day?
So if you don't have a horse yet, I would definitely recommend, when COVID allows, to come check it out as a spectator or a volunteer. Everyone is super welcoming. We love spectators. We love volunteers. We love everyone to come say, hello and hang out and learn about our horses. If you already have a horse, there's a public group, the RRP Thoroughbred Makeover group on Facebook. And a lot of us veterans and newbies and trainers and track trainers and breeders and everybody belong to that group. And it's such a wealth of knowledge. I would definitely recommend reaching out or joining that group, I should say.
So I have to ask you about your gray hunky horse. Can you tell us more about him?
Sure. His name is Mayor Cobb. I call him Cody. He is 5 years old. He's 16 and a half. He last raced February 26th, I believe, in Texas. He is the fanciest horse I've ever sat on in my entire life. And he also has this ridiculously incredible brain. And even though he's only 5, he definitely has an old soul. He definitely has a been there, done that sort of mentality. And I am really lucky to have gotten my hands on him.
Oh, I love it. So I have to ask you, because I feel this struggle on a emotional and spiritual level, but you're an adult amateur and you have a real job and 3 horses. Like, how do you manage it all? Because I know it's a struggle for me.
So I own my own business, so that certainly helps with the flexibility a lot. And even though I do feel like I'm working 24/7, like most people now, my work is primarily remote. So I can be at the barn with my horses and still answering phone calls, texts, emails, stuff like that. So that really helps. My one guy that was going to go to the makeover this year, so my 3rd horse, Max, he's actually on a vacation. So that really helps too. He's just spending some time hanging out at a friend's house, just getting to be a horse a little bit. And then other than that, it is, eating on the road and getting up early, staying up late to finish work, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, because I'm all about like matching and like more so like matching myself. Like, do my pants match my shirt? Does it like match the helmet I'm going to wear, all of that? But you've taken the whole like riding outfit of the day to the whole new thing, because I see pictures where like your shirt matches your saddle pad, which matches their boots all the way over. And it's not just like, okay, they're maroon ones. Then it goes teal, then it goes black. Like, it's everything. Like, I'm so impressed. Like, how do you coordinate to like make your look? Like, half the time I'd be like, which saddle pad's clean? Like, mine can only be white and black. Like, that's all I can deal with, because colors would not be enough. But I think that would just like, how do you do that?
So I cheat a little bit. I buy my pads, bonnets, and wraps in sets.
Okay.
So
that makes
helps.
me feel a little bit better. Tiny bit.
They all match each other. And then some of the shirts I have actually bought with the sets that like they go with them by the same manufacturer. Other times I just get really lucky with my shirts. But I do have, I think I counted today, 30 sets.
30
Oh
sets.
my gosh. That picture that you posted, Sarah, is like, so she posted on Facebook a picture of like her saddle pad collection and how you hang and store them. And I was just like totally impressed, totally amazed. We're gonna have to share that in the Facebook group so people can see it for themselves.
Yes. My OC.
But it'd be like, I'd forget which, I'd be like, oh, I put on the purple, and I'd show up in black. And I'd be like, well, that was a fail today. Don't take a picture of that.
Yes.
But my outfit itself would look good. But I'd forget like which one I was going to put on the horse type thing. That's where it kind of gets me, that I don't think I could do all of it.
So
Sarah is
So I'm
goals.
super impressed.
Yeah, Sarah is goals for sure.
Yeah.
my setup makes it really conducive to remembering that. I actually keep all of my my saddle pads and all of that at home, and they're right in my garage. So I just grab what I'm going to use for that day on my way out to my car.
See, that makes it a little
makes
easier, because if
sense.
I had to
Yeah.
remember what was at the barn and clean, like I'd be like, oh, not really remembering.
Well,
Yeah.
that leads me to the next very important question. As someone who, like Sarah, you have like very nice quality pads. What are your tips on how you wash them? Because I feel like I buy pads and they look terrible after I wash them the first time, and they've lost their luster.
So the great thing about those fancy pads that cost a ridiculous amount of money is that they actually hold up really, really well. So
Okay.
I wash mine one at a time, and I wash them like on a regular wash load with regular detergent, which I might have to change because I have heard that grays have like weird reactions to things. So I'm going to have to watch the detergent maybe with him.
Do like a clear and dry or something like that, or like the dye free or whatever, the clear and free, I think it's what it's called.
Okay.
Tide still makes it and stuff like that. And I love that for anything that's kind of weird detergent, or like, the kids or whatever.
Okay, I'll definitely have that. So I just use detergent, and then I use OxyClean on any of the lighter colors.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And then I dry, and that's it. It's pretty simple when they're that well made.
That's good to know.
And I do wash them like usually after 2 uses.
Okay. See, that's
Oh,
probably
I
my
admire
problem.
that.
I know.
I'm like, yeah, I use that till it's crusty.
That's probably why.
I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's time.
Oh gosh. All right, Sarah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so great to chat with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
So our next guest needs no introduction, and I really can't believe it's taken us this long to get Patricia on the podcast. But Patricia De Silva is the president of EcoGold and CEO of Heels Down Media. And without her, this podcast would not be possible. So welcome, Patricia.
Welcome. Hi. I'm so happy to be here.
I
It's
know.
my first time on Heels Down Happy Hour.
I know, it's amazing. This is episode 85. I can't believe this is the first time we've had you on.
Yes, I can't believe that either. I've been on other podcasts, but not ours. I guess you guys record too late for me.
I guess that's true. We brought you on to talk specifically about The Spark, our sparkly new revamped newsletter. And obviously, it's a big announcement for us at Heels Down. And I wanted to know, you're the brains behind this. So what made you want to make the jump from the brief, which, what our readers and listeners have known for a while, to The Spark?
Well, I think we've added, since we started the brief, which is for people who don't know, it's a daily newsletter that we send out at 6 a.m. Eastern every day, Monday to Friday. So it has like horsey news and then all kinds of fun news from the real world. And it's usually something that you can read very quickly. And that's why we called it the brief, because no one wants to read like super long things. And we called it the brief. But then I think about a year ago, or when was it, that we started really putting more energy in it and writing original articles or content, or, small, short things that only exist in that email. And then at some point it was like, well, maybe we need to you know, kind of revamp and show a little bit more what it is. And, you know, the brief name was kind of generic. So this year we kind of thought of different names, and I thought the Spark would be a good one.
I love it.
And,
I think it's super. I love the pink. I think it really gave it it needed a good pop, right? And now we got it with the Spark.
Yeah, sometimes you kind of need like a fresh coat of paint and something to make you happy. And I think this year has been quite a challenge for everyone, like in their personal lives. And we went from like gray and navy to bright pink, and it puts me in a good mood. Like sometimes they're like, oh, is it too much? But we said, no, let's go there. And I think that it just puts you in a good mood. And, you know, to start the day, that's what you want. And I love it. You open an email and it's all pink. You know, how can you not be in a good mood?
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to talk about, Patricia, that no one else in the industry has a daily email newsletter. Why do you think like the newsletter form works for horse people?
Well, I don't know what other people are doing or not doing. I know it works for me. Like that's how most of the Heels Down stuff is created. And that's why this podcast exists. Like I thought, oh, how about like a fun podcast with drinks? Because that's basically what, you know, I'd listen to, right? So for me, the email, I find that it's really hard, like since about like 2-3 years ago, it's really hard to find things on Facebook or, you know, on social media. It's like even pages that I like, I don't see their stuff anymore. Like, I don't know what kind of algorithm they have. I just see ads for cat toys, basically.
Same.
but, you know, so there's a lot of stuff like if you use, like before you could just be on Facebook and follow all these pages and you'd know what is happening in the world. But it seems now it's like videos and people fighting and like I don't find social media as interesting. So I like the email format, and I find like I waste my time less with that. Like you get it and it's all in an email. And if you don't want to receive it, you unsubscribe and that's it. You know, no one's selling your information. There's no privacy issues. Like I find it's a much safer vehicle. And, you know, you open it in the morning and you get all your news and off you go. You know, if you are not one of those people that is always on social media, I find it's a much more, concise vehicle. And, you know, it doesn't waste your time as much. And I think why does it work for horse people? You know, like it's one thing that you open and you get like this today. What was today? Well, not today. On Tuesday, we had all the virus stuff for the horses.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the EHV. Yep.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. So
it's like a one-stop shop.
Exactly. You get the information you need. And then there's a bunch of like funny things.
Speaking of funny things, how did you come up with like the anti-girl boss column?
Well, I think it was a team effort. We were thinking of, I think there's a lot of people now that have, if they don't have their own business, they have a side hustle or they work and they have business questions. I used to have a business newsletter that I did by myself, but then we integrated the anti-girl boss. Basically, it's business advice, but also career advice and about your, you know, like if you want to have a promotion or when should you leave your job, and it's kind of general. It's not specifically about the horse business. It's anything. You know, you could be in any kind of industry. And it's questions that everybody has at some point.
You do a great job of tackling like tough questions, like stuff that I, you know, as someone who has a more corporate real world type job in horses, but like stuff that I wouldn't feel comfortable asking my own boss. I go to you, Patricia, and I read it in the anti-girl boss column. I really like it.
And I think horse people that work in normal jobs, like they have specific problems that like only people that have their feet in both can answer. Because I think there was one, I don't know, did we publish the one about the time off?
This week.
Yeah.
Yep, this week.
Yeah, so it's like, how do I, bosses understand if you have children, if you're taking time off to care for children or bring them to the hospital or the dentist or they understand that. But if you have to take time off to care for your horse or you have a horse show, if you're in a corporate type of setting, it can be quite, it's not the same thing. They might not be able to understand what's going on. So kind of answer those types of questions and also about people that have their own business and how to, market their business and things like that. So it's general. And I think, I try to give normal advice that is useful to anyone who works or has like a side business or is an entrepreneur.
So, Patricia, do you have a favorite story that you ever read in the Spark in the newsletter? Like something silly, like Chipotle offering a makeup line. Do you have like a favorite weird story?
That was probably my favorite. Like this year, like everyone's pivoting. You see all these brands. Like I love like business news, but like not like the stock market or anything like that. But it's like the retail, what's happening in retail, what's happening in small business. And like Chipotle is not a small business, but the fact that they launched like it was a cosmetics line.
Yeah.
With the colors in their food. Like I find all those collaborations or like sneaker companies that collaborate with, something weird. Those are probably my favorite. And then all the pet stuff, like all the animals, like that people have tried to bring on a plane as like pet therapy. Like those
it's gonna be Ellie one day.
Yeah, like
with her
yep,
cats.
all 6 of my cats on leashes.
So those are the ones I click on first, like all the weird business news, and then like the cats or the goats that are friends with donkeys, and like all those are probably my favorite. Yeah, so you can read the horsey stuff, but then you scroll down and you get the wacky news and then important news. But those are the ones that you kind of remember.
Well, Patricia, we're so glad we finally had you on. 85 episodes in, you're finally on the podcast.
It's going to take me maybe 85 more to get on. I hope I didn't suck.
So good news, guys. Draper Therapy's the No Bow wraps are back in stock. So you guys can upgrade your horse's leg care routine with Draper's best-selling standing wraps featuring the Salient and now slightly thinner and easier to wrap designs. Get a set at drapertherapies.com. So guys, it's time for Rose and Thorn. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Go for it.
So I feel like this has been my rose or my thorn since the start of the podcast, actually. But it is actually happening, like this week happening. So it has to be my rose this week because it might be my thorn the next week. But we are actually moving into the new barn. Like it's happening, packing up this week, and we'll be in by next week.
That's amazing.
Yay! It might be a construction site and it might be a complete chaos, but I'm so excited. We're actually going to be living there with horses everywhere, but it's going to happen. So that's definitely my rose.
You're definitely going to have to take us on a tour, maybe for a Patreon. That would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We could do like an exclusive, like look at everything.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah. I can't wait. And then my thorn is, if you guys haven't like noticed, is I have like the worst the allergies picked up when it got warm, then I got cold, and it like turned into a sinus infection, and I sound like a man. Like it literally, it's gotten better in the last like couple days, but at one point I'm pretty sure I sounded more like a man than all the men, actually, like everybody.
All of them.
Because everybody was like, wow, what is that noise? I'm like, that's me. Like that is me and my noise. Like it was terrible. But that is like definitely my thorn, because I just want to like, I know I don't have like a high pitched voice, like it's still raspy, but this is like driving me nuts, and it's like in my sinuses. So that's definitely my thorn, because I sound like
This is like your smelly cat moment, though. You know, you should embrace it.
yeah. I don't know about that.
Okay.
Speaking of cats,
Oh, of
I
course.
can go next.
Of course,
Can
right?
I guess if it's your rose or thorn? I'm going to say it's your thorn.
You're correct, but you would have been correct either way because it's both.
Okay.
I have too many cats, okay? So I have a cat Rose and a
Jesus.
cat Thorn.
Of course you do.
So my cat
God.
Rose is that my cat Pearl, my big fat cat that makes a lot of like old angry lady faces because she is an old angry lady. And she's got like a permanent like hunchback because she's got arthritis that like fused her spine. So she's just kind of funny looking. She kind of looks like a deflated basketball. And she's more really of a pet rock that pees than a cat. But in any case, so somebody was peeing outside the litter box, okay? And I was getting real cranky about it because I couldn't figure out who it was. So I set up a motion camera in the litter box room to figure out which one of these little house trolls was peeing on my carpet. So I figured out it was a fat cat, which like was totally not what I expected. So I brought her with me to work, and we did all these like blood tests and a urine sample and everything. And this is my Rose, actually, because I fixed it. I added another litter box in the corner where she wanted to pee, and it seems to be working, knock on wood, now. But yep, all of the blood work, everything was completely clean. She's perfectly healthy, just a jerk. And I'm like, I respect that. I respect that you're an angry old woman. So, but speaking of urination, my thorn is that I peed my pants for the first time since I was like a small child the other day. Here's why.
Okay.
Are you ready for this? I didn't think I'd ever known a fear like I had when I went into the bathroom, because I usually keep the bathroom shut, but I left it open, and I went into the bathroom in like the middle of the night. I was like, I gotta pee, whatever. So I go in and I turn on the light, and my cat jumps out of a closed lid toilet. Jumps out of the toilet.
Oh my God.
Okay.
What do you mean closed? Like he was closed in the toilet?
Yes. Like, so she opens all of my cabinets and stuff. So I've had to like childproof lock like all the cabinets in the house. She'll go in and like eat granola bars, and I'm like, what are you doing? So I left the bathroom open, and it's one of the bathrooms that we haven't renovated yet. So it just has like a plastic toilet topper instead of like a porcelain one. And she literally had gotten herself like went in the toilet. She likes to swim. So a wet cat with toilet water was running around my house, and I peed myself because I screamed and I peed my pants.
Oh my God.
And then I had to like chase this cat around with a towel. Like, oh man.
These cats run your household. Like they're in charge.
Yeah.
Oh man. And Matt was laughing at me so hard, and I'm like, it's not funny, Matt. Like I've soiled my pants. And I'm not gonna be able to go back to sleep. I'm gonna have nightmares about this for the rest of my life.
So this was in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't.
I thought cats don't like water.
Oh, this cat does. Like honestly, like if you like I have to keep changing the water all the time in my fountain, because she goes and like swims in it. Like if you leave the sink on, she like rolls around in it. She tries to get in the shower with Matt, which is really hysterical because, Matt doesn't like cats. So he's like trying to shoo her out. And I'm like, she's going to get you.
My God.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. so that happened. So I can't believe I just announced on a podcast that I've urinated my pants, but
That's pretty amazing.
I figure if Jess can share that her husband's neutered, I can share about peeing myself.
100%.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm not going to top that.
No one can top that.
Yeah, I was gonna. But all right. So I guess I'll make this my rose. So, my horse has been lame, which is not my rose, but because he's been lame, I've been forced to find other things to do with my free time. And I will say it's like it requires an adjustment. I'm like, okay, what do I do with my weekend? I can't ride. Which I'm sure my husband thinks is great. But so we went to Polo this weekend actually with a couple of friends. Yeah, it was super fun. Where we had brunch and we went to Polo, and it's fun. It's like you tailgate, and you're right there at the edge of the match, and you get to watch. And the Polo matches here in Florida, where we live, are very dog friendly. So we brought all our dogs, and we invited our friends who are also greyhound people. They have a greyhound too, and so like. It's funny. Greyhounds are like those type of dogs when you're out somewhere in public. People always want to come up and talk to you about them. Which I'm happy to talk about greyhounds. But so we're at the polo match, and during their break, they let you go out and you stomp the divots, and we're walking around with the dogs, and the dogs were good. And then the match starts again, and we go back to our spot, and we're sitting down, and our friend's dog, so our greyhound is Tiki, and our friend's greyhound, his name is Crash. He's very handsome. He's a brindle colored big greyhound. And the match started, and we'd been there for I don't know, at least an hour, but all of a sudden he just got the greyhound parade drive, and the horses came, galloping by, and he just was like, see ya, and chased them and took off. Yeah. Was like, bye, and took off. And all of a sudden was in the middle of the match, surrounded by horses, and he just was like, I don't know what to do now. And I will say that the polo people, the people who were playing, were pissed. They yelled at us, and we're like, oh, sorry. I know. And I was just like, well, technically my dog is sitting right here still, but our friends had to go get their dog in the middle of the match. It was I don't know. They were so embarrassed. They're not horse people. They were like, oh my God, we're mortified. And I'm like, well, you go to really big horse events, and dogs get loose all the time. So I tried to explain to them it could be worse. It's not the worst thing in the world, but they were mortified. But it was kind of funny. I was sitting there just watching their dog run across the field, and I was like, oh wow, good thing it's not my dog. But yeah,
I think it's funny.
It was funny at the time. It was funny. So. But anyway, so that is my rose, was watching that. And then my thorn would be that, Mikey's just been a little bit off. I think he was a dummy and hurt himself in the pasture. And it's just been one of those things where it starts to get better, and then it's gotten worse, and it starts to get better. And then, so I just, since he doesn't sweat in the summer, I feel like I put a lot of pressure on our springtime to go and really compete. And so it's kind of a bummer to have to reevaluate, but that's horses, right? So, and luckily it's minor, so I'm sure he will be back at it here shortly. But
that's good.
Yeah, but literally, I don't know what to do with my life when I'm not riding. I'm at the barn every day, still hanging with him and checking on him, but I'm like, what do I do with my time now that I don't ride the horse? It's like a weird.
Yeah,
period.
I always used to. Yeah, when my horses went home from college, and I had them I sent them home before finals week, and I'm like, what do I do with all this extra time? And I mean, in college, I just probably ate and drank, but I feel like as an adult, my metabolism is not as good as it used to be.
I know, right?
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I have other animals and obviously friends and stuff, but especially with, in a pandemic, it's sort of hard where it's just okay, what else do you do?
What do I do
I
now?
feel like
I'm
you
used
should
to going
try to
the
make those
barn.
chicken costumes.
That's true.
Yeah, that would be great.
So if you want to hear more from us, you should subscribe to the Heels Down Spark. You can do that by going to bit.ly/sparkbyhd. And you can join our Facebook lounge, which is the Heels Down Happy Hour podcast lounge. We also want to say thank you to all of our sponsors this week, EcoGold, Spot On Grooming Products, and Draper Therapies. All right, guys, that's a wrap.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.